Hi guys, in this video I will show you step by step how to build and weld a rear hoop on a KZ650 frame. The method is mainly the same for other motorcycle, of course. Want to see the result? Look at this amazing rear hoop. Watch this video to see how to do it. I'm starting with a flat hoop that needs a slight bend. Now, you may wonder why not just buy a pre-bent hoop. I will explain exactly why in a moment. Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome to Caferacer Garage 232. In this episode, we will see the hoop bending and chassis preparation, how to weld the hoop on the rear frame, how to reinforce the frame, the hoop preparation and paint, and the amazing finished look. Are you ready? Okay, let's start the hoop build. I'm using a flat hoop with a recess for a LED strip that includes the light, the stop light, the turn signals. I need to angle the hoop for two main reasons. First, to avoid having a seat with a brat look, so a flat at the rear end of the bike, but more importantly, to move the license plate away from the tire. I will show you the finished look on the bike at the end of the video. To bend the hoop, I make two notches on each side, which allows me to bend the hoop to the desired angle. But why didn't I just buy a pre-curved hoop? Yes, in fact, I wanted to achieve a precise curve, approximately 20 degrees, and not be dependent on a prefabricated part. But when positioning the hoop on the frame, I realized that I still need to cut 4 or 5 centimeters off the cut I made in the previous video. Now that the chassis has been shortened, I'm repositioning the hoop, and as you can see, there is a pre-existing hole in the hoop for the LED strip cables. I have to plug it because it's exactly where I will need to weld. I'm now checking the distance between the underside of the tank and the end of the hoop. I am measuring from the line that corresponds to where the tank sits. The seat support will indeed pass underneath the tank. It's important to double check before welding, of course. I draw with a marker how far the hoop needs to go into the frame, because I have to take it out to plug that hole. Now that I have properly measured the distance and checked the angle of the hoop, I can weld the notches I made. As you can see, after grinding the welds, you can't even see the mark from the notch anymore. So, weld perfect. I'm welding the other notches, but here without filming them, otherwise this video would be much too long. Since the hoop is designed to hold a lead strip, there is a hole for the cables. Unfortunately, as you saw at the beginning of the video, the hole is exactly where I need to weld the hoop to the chassis. So I have to insert a screw which I need to weld. I draw a line with the marker where I need to cut the screw. Indeed, since this part of the hoop will go into the frame, so inside the frame it cannot protrude. I adjust the screw in its housing and sand carefully before welding. I spot weld, sand and spot weld again several times to avoid overheating and therefore deformation of the hoop. The welding is finished. I just grinded it with a hard disk. Now I'm sanding with a softer one. It's a somewhat lengthy process, but necessary if you want a well-made, high-quality hoop. To achieve a nice finish, I treat its surface with tin, which will give me a smooth, beautiful finish. Indeed, grinding too vigorously in certain areas risks weakening the hoop. After all those preparation of the hoop and the chassis, it's now time to weld it onto the bike's rear frame. The frame has been adjusted. I'm checking the distance between the tank and the rear of the hoop, thanks to the reference I made. So, let's start the weld. I'm preparing the chassis for welding. I'm using a small grinder here, simply to remove the layer of paint. I position the hoop in the chassis up to the mark I drew. I check one last time the distance between the tank and the rear end of the hoop, just to be sure. I start to tack welding both sides of the hoop to the chassis to prevent it from moving the other side during welding. For now, I'm only welding the top part because, as you will see in a few moments in the video, I still need to weld two small reinforcing pieces. Now that the frame hoop is welded from the top, it's time to reinforce the chassis. Do you remember those original parts I cut in the last video? So the rear of the chassis and the seat support. So today I am adding two reinforcements to lock everything down. One goes between the main tube and the reinforcement support you have between the main tube and the shock absorber. And the second one is simply a T support to lock the rear hoop to the frame. Check it out. Where I cut the chassis, this section consisted of the original tube and the reinforcement, the one intended for attaching the shock absorber. I therefore need to find an aesthetically pleasing way to join this cut chassis to the hoop I'm inserting. It's the part in red on the image that I need to fabricate. To make this connection, I fabricated two pieces of steel metal profile designed firstly to reinforce the hoop on the chassis and secondly to provide a more aesthetically pleasing finish as explained. I'm checking here that the manufactured reinforcement is aesthetically perfect in terms of shape. Same control on the right side. Here you can see the two welded and polished pieces that I now will weld. Here is the reinforcement for the chassis. I am now going to weld it to the chassis. To do this, I need to hold them with a clamp. Now that the two reinforcements have been welded, I sand the weld first with a coarse grit and then with fine grit. As you saw in one of my previous videos, the one about cutting the chassis, I cut out a significant reinforcement from the chassis. So now I'm making a new T-shaped support which I weld onto the bench and then onto the chassis. I now position the T-shaped bracket I just made onto the chassis, holding it in place with a clamp. Before welding, I check that the T support is perfectly straight in relation to the chassis. I make sure my welding machine is properly adjusted. The reinforcement assembly must obviously be welded with a good fusion of the metals, otherwise it's not really a reinforcement, right? To ensure it doesn't move during welding, I tack welds before soldering a bed. As you can see, the T-shaped bracket protrudes slightly from the hoop. No, it's not a mistake. It's designed to keep the license plate away from the tire and allows the license plate bracket to be attached. As you can see, I'm not a professional welder. The weld isn't done in one go, like a pro would do. Between passes, I have to grind each time to remove the slag. Now it's time to prepare the chassis before the painting. I'm now preparing the chassis before painting. I'm going over all the areas of the chassis with the small grinder again, removing all the references stickers as well. I use acetone to degrease the metal, then I clean the chassis with a phosphating anti-rust product. I put the reference in the comments. This preparation takes a little time, but it's really necessary if you want a beautiful, long-lasting paint finish. The paint used for the frame is the same as that used for the seat support. It's a satin black paint for frames and it applies easily with a brush. I will put the reference in the comments below. Here you see the finished result. I like this satin black paint. It has the same look as the original paint. And there you have it. In this episode, I showed step by step how I prepared and welded the hoop onto the rear frame, reinforcing the chassis and applying a nice looking black paint. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks for watching and see you soon for the new caferacer video. Thanks.